Hello everyone, thank you for joining us for the Building Bridges with Tigray panel. My name is Melat Habtu, I will be moderating today, and we do have very special guests here for you. Sorry, you can't hear me, okay. So we do have some guests here for you. I'm sure you know a lot of them. Some are actually Dallas-based, so a lot of you might be familiar with them. But I will start off with kind of telling you a bit about what the panel discussion is going to be about. Previously, the panel discussion that we just had was more of building bridges within the diaspora, within our communities, and obviously outside of the community as well, but diaspora-based. This conversation is mainly going to be focused on building bridges with Tigray, building bridges with communities, institutions, individuals alike in Tigray. So that's where the difference is between because you guys might be hearing repetitive things, but bear in mind we're talking about Tigray. So just to introduce the panel, as you know, building bridges is very vital especially because of the current environment that we're in Tigray. After 2020, many of our institutions, many of our things like healthcare institutions, educational institutions, so many of our different individuals that worked in those institutions have been dispersed. Those institutions have been dismantled. So we are kind of, I don't want to say starting from scratch, but to put it into perspective, we are starting from the very beginning. A lot of the work that we've done in the last couple of decades has kind of been, like I said, dismantled. So a lot of building bridges with Tigray will require a lot of the diaspora's effort, which is why I think this panel discussion is very timely, because it's something that we always have to bear in mind. How can we not just strengthen our communities here, but also how can we strengthen the relationships that we have with the communities and institutions back home. So that's what this panel discussion is going to be about. So I'll introduce our first guest who is not here with us. You don't see him sitting here, but he is with us virtually. He has pre-recorded videos that we're going to play for you today. His name is Dr. Gebrekidan Gebresilassie. You guys probably know him as the lead of GSTS. Dr. Gebrekidan Gebresilassie earned his joint master's in 2014 in materials and nanoscience and chemical engineering and obtained his PhD with the highest rank. Currently, he's a group leader of functional surfaces, interfaces, and interphases for applications in electrochemical and energy storage devices and systems at the Institute of Power Electronics and Electrical Drives of WTH Aachen University in Germany. He's also an adjunction material science and engineer professor at Melat Institute Technology in Tigray. Dr. Gebrekidan is a seasoned scientist and the chairman of GSTS. So without further ado, we'll play the video for Dr. Gebrekidan for you.
እሺ አቅኒለይ عدوم غيركم سلاذا أوروكمني وعلا بتعمي زمسكن شمي جبرخدان جبرسلاسي بحال أبز حزوان أب عخن يونيفرسيتي زبحال لاب جرمن كملا علاوي تمارمارن ناي حدا وجل ناي فاكشنال سارفيس انترفيس نا انترفيس بحال ناي مرمر جروب يمرح كاو خعا كافتو زلنا بزي أب جرمن بتوسخي أب بولند وارساو يونيفرسيتي أوف تكنولوجي كم فيزيتينج بروفيسور خوينا ياقلقل مالتيو بناي European Union قصتاي تغير حير تغير تغوطيرا then أب مقالة يونيفرسيتي أب مقالة Institute of Technology خا أب Material Science and Engineering Department كم adjunct professor خوينا يسرح مالتيو كاوزو بprofessional background أب نانو تكنولوجي نا Material Science ينطف جن بس specialization أب energy بفلاي خا أب electrochemical energy storage and conversion زبال مثناي battery super capacitor تحذا ني electric vehicle ني renewable energy integration خالوتات مالتيو كاوذو بتوسخا وزح زوان ناي علم لخ محورس مهرانن سمويان تግራይ GSTS مالتيو كم president وين ياقلقل قلاتنا قم نفلطو GSTS لعلي 5000 زقونو أب database عوالات زلوو بلعلي 26 زقونو سيكترات تماتيك ارياتات كاتاغورايز لخونه قدمت خوينات بعويو أو لمعات أفتوان كناس دمو هزو تقرأي نزاكايدو زنورة قارسي بعويو واستراتيجيك بزخونة مركو نحاجة زمزة حزق عمستو زجمر زلو سلام تقبر زقبو ناي جستس accountability صراحة قل بعويو ناو داق ماي حويتن هنس أتنون بعويو ناتور لزلو خنتات زلو تكاليو مالتيو.
Perfect. So that was Dr. Gebrekidan for you. The next person I'll introduce is actually sitting on my far right here. That's Dr. Henock Gzabher. So Dr. Henock Gzabher is an Associate Gratis Professor of Medicine and Interventional Cardiology at the Louisiana State University of Health Sciences Center. He's practicing as an interventional cardiologist in the Dallas, Texas area. So he's homegrown. He received his medical degree from Jammu University in Ethiopia. He's the first cardiologist to perform the percutaneous coronary intervention. Sorry, that was a mouthful for me because I don't have a medical background, I apologize. In Melat University, Ethiopia. And he helped initiate coronary intervention services there. He's amongst the first 12 doctors to found an Ethio-American doctors group. Currently, he's serving as a board member of HBS, and he has initiated the virtual education in Tigray via HBS.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you, Wa'ala, for giving us the opportunity to be part of the panel. And I want to welcome you to the great state of Texas, for those of you who came a long way from other states. I am Henock Gzabher. By profession, I am interventional cardiologist. I graduated in Ethiopia, but I did my specialty here. Before I go to my talk, my interest is on HBS and virtual education. But there is one question that I'm going to answer, not part of the panel. A lot of friends were asking me, why is everything big in Texas? Texas is big. The size of Texas is big. It's one of the largest states in the Union. Except Alaska, it's in terms of size, it can fit in 10 of the smallest states in the Northeast plus Hawaii. And we have 2 time zones, so, and you can see the whole, it's big. So with that, I think I will go to the next one.
Okay, so we will go to the next panelist, who is Dr. Kidane Assefa. Dr. Kidane Assefa is currently serving as the chairman of the board of the Tigray Development Association in North America, TDA in North America. He holds a medical degree from the State University of New York, Downstate Medical Center College of Medicine. He's an experienced medical practitioner with over 20 years in experience as an ophthalmology specialist. As chairman of TDA-NA, he has advocated for the greater transparency policies at TDA North America, and in addition to expanding existing programs to support the current and future needs of Tigrayan people in the aftermath of the civil war.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kidane Assefa. I am the current TDA chairman, TDA North America. I'm sorry that I couldn't make it in person this year, and hopefully we'll do next year with a better coordination. I'm here to introduce TDA International and TDA North America specifically. TDA North America is an 501c registered NGO registered in Washington, D.C. TDA was established in 1989 by concerned Tagaru diaspora with a clear mission to help after 17 years of civil war to improve the livelihood of Tigrayan people with healthcare, education, and technology. Among many other things that from this goal and mission, the notable examples or successfuls that TDA has accomplished, a few to mention is MIT, Melat Institution, and Alamina High School was a few to mention. TDA also has played a vital role in the last 30 years, successfully completed about 2 hospitals, built 36 virtual computer centers, 21 public libraries, and trained more than 7,000 teachers and nurses in different skill level. TDA also has built about 74 clinics and many high schools and elementary schools. Unfortunately, all those things TDA has done for many years has been destroyed in the last 3 years. Now, we are here today talking about, again, rebuilding Tigray, rebuilding and the infrastructures, the healthcare system, the education system. Most importantly, we're here to ask for every diaspora Tigrayan and non-Tigrayans to contribute to rebuild that in a short time, very short period of time, and to have kids back to school, to resume a normal life, which with all your help will do in a short period of time.
Perfect. So that was just updates on TDA, just clarifying developments that they've been working on. So we'll go to Dr. Tsehaye Zemenfes next. Dr. Tsehaye Zemenfes, he will introduce himself, but before he does, Dr. Tsehaye is an executive director and founding member of the Tigray Disaster Relief Fund. He holds a Doctor of Pharmacy degree with Nova Southeastern University and a Master of Public Health degree in Public Health Practice from the University of Florida, with more than 10 years of experience as a pharmacist, leader, and consultant across retail, ambulatory health centers, and public health environments. Dr. Zemenfes is a seasoned healthcare professional with a record of contributions in both operations management and clinical services. So he will go ahead and tell you more about the work that TDRF does and just a bit more about himself.
يغني لي ملت يسمع لي. Can you guys hear me? Okay, ትግርኛ እንግሊዝኛ ያው so መጀመሪያ يغني لنا Tigray Forum for organizing such a wonderful event. I think this is kind of the new generation version of how to do community activism gathering. So kudos to the organizers, especially to the young professionals. I know what it takes to put one, and it's very exhausting. So kudos to you all. I won't bore you with my life story. Very difficult to, after you come with such a magnificent accomplishers. I want to focus on, so Tsehaye Zemenfes ይባላል. I currently live in Albuquerque. I grew up in California in the Bay Area. I came to the United States at the age of 11. Currently I serve in the Native American population. I live in a reservation. So she said I'm a pharmacist. What I wanted to focus on is how many of you have heard Tigray Disaster Relief Fund? Can I see hands up? Okay, this is good. So Tigray Disaster Relief Fund, who are we? We are a 501c nonprofit. We were registered in the state of Texas. So what makes us a little bit unique is post-2020, we started in 2018. How we started was that Tigrayans were being ethnically profiled across Ethiopia, across Gondar. You guys know the story, so that was the motivation behind why TDRF started. Our current founder, the founder, basically used social media for a call to say we should be doing something because it was not politically correct to talk about what was happening to Tigray, to Tagaro, so it was hushed. So we used social media to advocate, and we made a noise where the government at least we made the government to pay attention. So that's how we started in 2018. We raised about 100,000. So what we decided to do is instead of once we finished the project of doing cash intervention for the IDPs, we decided, hey, we have this great platform. So instead of every time there's a problem in our community, instead of starting from scratch, why don't we make this into an institution? So in 2019, we registered, we became a nonprofit, and we've been doing some tremendous work. You guys probably, mostly, you guys know us on social media. We, as the young generation, we try to use the tools, the technology. I think that's very important to reach our community, but we realize now we need to come down, meet our people, and Wa'ala represent a great opportunity. So thank you for you guys. And later on, I'll talk a little bit more about work, so I don't want to bore you in the interest of time, but
So thank you all to our panelists. We appreciate you guys taking the time out to be here with us today. So I'll get on with the questions. Please, while you're listening to the panel, have your questions ready. It's going to be a very meaty discussion, so make sure you write it down on your napkin if you don't want to forget. So my first question, I'll have a couple of you guys answering it, but I will maybe post it to you, Dr. Tsehaye, if you don't mind first. So in the past, we've had limited civic societies in Tigray. So post-2020, we saw a lot of new civil societies just appearing, both in the diaspora and in Tigray, in Ethiopia in general. So how are these civic societies able to collaborate and work together effectively when you really think about it, they come from two different, there may be cultural barriers there, structural barriers, there's so many different elements of bureaucracy that exist that the diaspora may not be used to. So how do you recommend, or how can the diaspora community effectively contribute to building bridges with Tigray, in your opinion?
Thank you, Melat. That's a wonderful question. So how do we build bridges with Tigray? Wa'ala is a perfect example. We have to be strong. We have to build a network of communities in the United States to make sure that we're extending our hand to our people in Tigray. If we're not organized here, we can't. Yes, at an individual level, we might be able to build bridges with our family, friends, but we want our contribution to go beyond that. So I wanted to talk a bit about TDRF, because I think that shows us a perfect showcase of how we were able to build a bridge to Tigray using an institution. So earlier I talked about how we started in 2018. So we're here. How do you implement an intervention in Tigray while you're here? So what we did is we were fortunate enough that we found a local organization. It's called Karadion. They're still active. We partnered with them because we know that our ability, our strength lies in mobilizing the diaspora community to raise funds, but then how do you implement a project? So partnership, creating partnership network, you trust, you build trust. And for us, lucky enough, because we had a little track of building trust amongst our colleagues in Tigray. So then now when the war happened, and we were able to, there were limited access to internet, so we were able to tap into that partnership or that trust, and to be able to deliver humanitarian aid. And for example, we partner up with the Tigray Houston community. Do we have any members of the Houston Tigray community? I wanted to give a shout out because they were the first one to, in 2021, I believe, they raised funds from their community, about 100,000. And we used that to deliver food aid. This is during where Tigray was still occupied by the enemy. We partner up with the local organizations because we already have built that trust with them prior to 2020. So from Mulu Charity, Karadion, we also, Yerga from OSHA, those people we signed, we were creative because what we did is we found a factory that had food, we purchased it from them, we had our partner organization be able to go to deliver to rural area and Tigray deliver. So I think just building that trust, miscommunication, cultural barrier, but I think just an example is to clarify everything is having MOU in place to make sure that everybody knows what they're responsible for, and then just having that relationship, knowing that we all serve the same people. That's how we are able to overcome.
Perfect. So building a relationship that's filled with trust, I think that's very important. I think we're going to go just to Dr. Kidane to play some of his response to the question.
Yes, it's true that in the past we have limited civil society involvement in Tigray's day-to-day affairs and politics and cultural development. However, recently we have homegrown and diaspora-based civic societies emerging. The best way I see, whether it's homegrown or diaspora civic societies, organizations, including diaspora community, to bridge the gap between the diaspora community and Tigray is, one, the most important thing we forget is to put the people of Tigray at the center of our agenda. If we Tigrayans, whether individuals, whether organizations, civic societies, if our main goal is to make the livelihood of the Tigray people that has been subjected to so many atrocities for hundreds of years, as recently as 3-4 months, it still is going on. If we can put the people of Tigray at the center of our agenda, there's nothing that we can't do, there's nothing that we can't achieve. So my advice to any diaspora community active, either opposition or civic society, whatever name they want to use, is to put the people of Tigray at the center of our concern, our agenda. Meaning that how do we make people in Tigray have a better life? How do we can make the people of Tigray have a better access to healthcare, education? And it's really obvious now, even in the short 3-4 months of stability, quote unquote, we call stability, is that you can see the difference between the people that have and the people that have not. Schools that are in the cities, close to the cities, are built already almost back to normal or to functioning. But if you have to drive from the city, there are schools that have no chairs, have no windows. So in our agenda and our goal is that how do we, as a society, as a community, as an activist, as a civic society, how do we make the people Tigray to have a better life, better access to the things that we take for granted in the West?
So that was Dr. Kidane. We're going to go to Dr. Henock next, just to get his perspective on the question as well.
Actually, in the interest of time, I would go to the education part, but in terms of partnership, TDRF is actually helping us in setting up some school monitoring system in Tigray. So civic organization partnership is very important. We have also relationships with some educational, with the Education Bureau in Tigray, and some other organization who can help us in, making the kids back to school. Thank you.
Okay, great. So yeah, moving on to the next question that you're going to take for us, Dr. Henock. What role can education and cultural exchange programs play in fostering connections and mutual understanding with Tigray? So that will be for you, Dr. Henock.
Yeah, so my interest is on virtual education and HBS. Probably I'm going to shift gears in Tigrinya because tonight ትምህርት ኩነታት ናይ ትግራይ ብጣዕሚ ኣብ ሰካፍ ኩነታት እዩ ዘሎ ስለዚ እንታይ ክንግበር ከም ዘለና ምእንቲ ክርዳእኩም ሓደ ዳታታት ክነግረኩም እየ ኣንሕና HBS ዝበሃል ሳተላይት ቴሌቪዥን ኣለና ምናልባት መብዛሕትኩም ይሰማዕኩም እንትኾኑ ዳርጋ ናብ ሓደ ዓመት ገይሩ ኣሎ እዚ ሳተላይት እዚ ንክልተ ነገርና ንጥቀመሉ ማለት እዩ ክልተ ዓይነት ፕላትፎርም እዩ ዘለዎ ሓደ ናይ ትምህርቲ ናይ ኤዱኬሽን so ካብ ንግሆ 8 AM ክሳብ ድሕሪ ሰዓት 5 PM ኤዱኬሽን ትምህርቲ ኢና ንመሓላለፍ ን ትግራይ ማለት እዩ እና ካብ ዝተፈለጡ ኢንተርናሽናል ኢንስቲትዩሽን ካን አካዳሚ ሶርስ ጌርና ካብ ኪንደርጋርተን ጀሚሩ ክሳብ ሃይ ስኩል ዘሎ ትምህርቲ ኢና ንመሓላለፍ ማለት እዩ እቲ ትምህርቲ ስትራቲፋይድ ኢና ጌርናዮ ካብ ኪንደርጋርተን ክሳብ ካልኣይ ካብ ሳልሳይ ክሳብ ሻድሻይ ካብ ሻውዓይ ክሳብ ሻምናይ ካብኡ ከዓ ሃይ ስኩል ማለት እዩ እና ኣብ ከምዚ ክእለት ዘለኩም ኤዱኬተርስ ወይ ከዓ ክትሕግዙና ትኽእሉ ብጣዕሚ ሓገዚና እንደሊ ማለት እዩ ኣብቲ ናይ ትምህርቲ ኩነታት ናይ ትግራይ ሓደ ቁፅሪ ክበኩም እየ ቅድሚ እቲ ኩናት ናብ 2200 ዝኸውን ኤሌመንተሪ ስኩል ነይሩ 271 ዝኸውን ሃይ ስኩል ነይሩ ኦፍ ኮርስ 4 ዩኒቨርሲቲታት ነይረን ክልተ ናይ teachers training colleges نيرم لعلي 30,000 ዝኸውን ናይ ኤሌክትሮኒክስ ኮምፒውተራት ፕሪንተራት ነይሩ እዚ ኩሉ እዚ ዓኒኡ ማለት እዩ ሕጂ almost እቲ ናይ ፊዚካል ስትራክቸር ናይ ቤት ትምህርትታት ፈሪሱ እዩ ሕጂ እንታይ ፀገም ገጢሙ ዘሎ ቅድሚ እቲ ኩናት 1.4 ሚሊዮን ተምሃሮ እዮም ነይሮም ሕጂ ግን ናብ 2.4 ሚሊዮን ኮይኖም ኣሎ ማለት እዩ ንምንታይ ፀገም ፈጢሩ ቲ ኤዱኬሽን ሲስተም ኢዝ ዳይናሚክ ካብ ታሕቲ ዝኣቱ ተምሃሮ ኣለዉ ካብ ላዕሊ ከዓ ግራጁዌት ገይሮም ክወፁ ዝነበሮም ነይሮም ማለት እዩ ሕጂ ከባቢ 2.4 ሚሊዮን ተምሃሮ እዮም ኣብ ትግራይ ዘለዉ እቲ ሪሶርስና ሕጂ ሊሚትድ እዩ እቲ ቤት ትምህርቲ ፈሪሱ እዩ መምሃራን ልዕልን 46,000 እዮም ነይሮም ሕጂ ብዙሕ ይብልናን ስለዚ ምስ ዘለና ሊሚትድ ዝኾነ ሪሶርስ how do we make the kids back to school ዝብል ኢና ክንሓስበሉ ዘለና ማለት እዩ እና to diaspora ክገብሮ ዝኽእል ሓደ ነገራት ቻሌንጅታት ሕጂ እንታይ እዩ ናብ 200 ቤት ትምህርቲ ዝኾነ IDPM ዘለዎን ላንድ ማይን ኣሎ ትሮማታይዝ ዝኾኑ ቆልዑ ኣለዉ ትሮማታይዝ ዝኾነ ፋሚሊ ኣለዎም ዝብላዕ ነገር የብሎም እና ብጣዕሚ ዓብይ ፀገም እዩ ዘሎ ማለት እዩ ትግራይ ስለዚ ከም ዳያስፖራ እንተ ክንገብር ንኽእል ሓደ ንምሳሌ ልዕሊ 30,000 ዝተባሃለ ኤሌክትሮኒክስ ካብኡ 17,000 ዝኾኑ ኮምፒውተራት እዩ እዚ ካምፔይን ክንገብር ንኽእል ኢና ማለት እዩ ኮምፒውተርስ ፕሪንተርስ ስካነርስ and so on ካልእ ከዓ ናይ ስኮላስቲክ ናይ ስኩል ሳፕላይስ ናይ ፔንሲል ካምፔይን ናይ ፔን ካምፔይን ናይ ባክ ካምፔይን ቴክስት ቡክስ እዚ ኩሉ ከዓ ክንገብር ንኽእልና ማለት እዩ ካልእ ከዓ ፓርትነርሺፕ we can create partnership ስኩል ቱ ስኩል ክኸውን ይኽእል ከተማን ከተማ ክኸውን ይኽእል ከመይ ጌርና ዞም ቆልዑስ ናብ ቤት ትምህርቲ ንመልሶም ማለት እዩ እቶም ዓበይቲ ኦርጋናይዜሽንስ ብምንታይ ክሕግዙና ዝኽእሉ ፊዲንግ ፕሮግራም ከልየና እዩ ዞም ቆልዑ እዚኦም ጠሚዮም ናብ ቤት ትምህርቲ ክኣትዉ ይኽእሉን ማለት እዩ ስለዚ እንታይ ኢና ክንገብር ዝብል እዚ እውን ክንሓስበሉ ኣለና ማለት እዩ if I have time I can add or
we'll come back to some of the points you want to make within the discussion anyway. So I mean, you mentioned such great points, and I think in order for us to even address these points, we have to make sure that there's no gap that exists between what we imagine for Tigray and what Tigrayans that actually are in Tigray currently, what do they imagine for Tigray? Is there a gap that we haven't addressed? So my next question actually will be, what potential gaps exist between the diaspora, what the diaspora imagines for the development of Tigray versus those currently in Tigray?
ደጊመ ያቅልኒለይ እቲ ዓይነት ፖቴንሻል ጋፓት ኣለዉ ንዝብል ሓደ ጋፕ ኢለ ዝሓሶ ናይ ትራንስፓረንሲ ናይ ኣካውንታብሊቲ ጉዳይ እዩ እቲ ዲያስፖራ ኣካውንታብሊቲ ይደልዩ ትራንስፓረንሲ ይደልዩ ኣብ ትግራይ ከዓ ንዕኡ ክሽከም ዝኽእል ንዕኡ ካረጋግፅ ዝኽእል ሲስተም ክፍጠር ኣለዎ እዩ እቲ ካልኣይ ምስ ናይ ላክ ኦፍ ኢንጌጅመንት ፖሊሲ ምስ ናይ ኮኦርዲኔሽን ምስ ናይ ኢንስቲቱሽናል ሴትኣፕ ዝተተሓዘ እውን ነገር ኣሎ ስለዚ ነቲ ናይ ዲያስፖራ ኢንጌጅመንት ነቲ ናይ ዲያስፖራ ምንቅስቓስ ነቲ ናይ ዲያስፖራ ስራሕ ክሕግዝ ዝኽእል ትካል ክህሊ ክኽእል እኒአዎ ኮኦርዲኔሽን ክህሉ እኒአዎ እዚ ዘይምህላዩ ጋፕ ኣብ ክልቲኡ ክፈጠር ይኽእል እዩ ዝብል እዩ መበል ሳልሳይ ኣብ ዲያስፖራ ዘሎ ህዝብና እውን ኣብቲ ዓዲ ሪፕሬዘንትድ ተዝኸውን ናይ ብዙሓት ሃገራት እውን ተመክሮ እዩ ኣብቲ ካውንስል ብተወከልቲ ኣቢሉ እንድሕሪ ኸይዱ ጥቕሙ መውቱ እቲ ኣገልግሎቱ ከዓ ወይ ደሞ ዝህቦ ሓገዝ እውን ብክጠናኸር ይኽእል እዩ ዝብል እምነት እኒአኒ መበል ራብዓይ ምስታ ግዜ ክገልፃ ዝደሊ ግን ናይ ሪፎርም እቲ ዲያስፖራ ዝሓሸት ትግራይ ይደሊ እዩ ተኻሊእ ይደልን ማለት ይኾንኩ ግን ዝነበረ ቢሮክራሲ ከቕፅል ዝደሊ ሬዚስታንስ እውን ክህልውይና ናይ ሪፎርም ምድላይና ብቲ ዝነበረ ቢዝነስ ኣዝዥዋል ንምኻድ ዝግበር ዘሎ ኣብ ክልቲኡ መንጎ ክፍተት ከም ሓደ ጋፕ ክወስድ ይኽእል እዩ ዝብል እምነት ኣለኒ
So what opportunities exist for economic collaborations and partnerships with Tigray? So how does the community foster a culture of full transparency regarding being financially involved in future initiatives? And just to break down that question, a lot of the times, a lot of the organizations that we're involved in or we're contributing to is financially, we contribute financially. And there's a different working culture between Tigray and the working culture here, and that is that, you know, sometimes we're told to trust that finances are going to the right places, but if there is a system in place that can allow us to have full transparency, there will be no need to even ask for trust because that system is in place. So my question to you is, how can we, what opportunities exist for an economic collaboration in the first place, and also how can we make sure these collaborations are very transparent and see-through for the diaspora to have that trust initially in the system?
So I think that's a very important question. There are, you know, as you guys know, the genocide has ruined Tigray to ashes. So, I mean, the economic collaborations of many levels, 2 minutes will not be doing, will do justice to answer. So I want to focus on one particular thing. So as a TDRF, how many of you know what microfinance is? Can I see show of hand? Okay, not too many. Okay, how many of you heard of an organization called Kiva? Okay, so 1, 2. So microfinance basically is, even in Tigray, I think there are some few organizations involved. They do, lending. This is a concept that was started by Dr. Muhammad Yunus in Bangladesh. So it's been copied all over the world. Basically, you're trying to give access, credit to the poor. So in TDRF, what we wanted to do is we want to move away from charity work, and we wanted to move into how do you empower our community. As you guys know, 85% of Tigrayans live in the rural area, and a lot of times they are not in the formal banking system. So what we wanted to do, similar to Kiva, I urge everybody, when you get a chance, go to kiva.org and try to learn the story. So what they do is they work in about 60 countries. They partner entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs from places around the world, and they find people to lend them money, not a handout, but to lend them money. So, for example, just think of a farmer somewhere in Tigray. They need a little bit of capital to grow their business, but the bank might not want to lend them because they're risky. So what we wanted to do is link those entrepreneurs in Tigray with the diaspora to lend them money, not a handout. So the way that it works is you would build a profile on the website. Any of you can go on there. Okay, I wanted to I wanted to lend Farmer Kiros $20. So that money, there's a repayment plan, let's say a year, and they pay back. And then as someone that's funding this, you have a chance to withdraw the money, or you can keep it in the system, and then it goes into lending that money into somebody else. So this is kind of what we wanted to work on. I think this is a great initiative. So I know I'm running out of time, but just to answer, very important is how do you build a culture or transparency? I think TDRF has a great job of doing that. It should not be the norm that if you work for the public, if you do charity work or community work, the onus is on you to show that you are transparent. You have to show the donors where your money is going. And we try to use technology to make sure that when somebody donates, they get a receipt. Yeah. We publish annual reports with financial. So this is like little steps as an institution you can take to build trust.
Okay. Perfect, thank you. So just leading on from that question, so what are the current pathways for the diaspora to support reconstruction of Tigray, and what is the diaspora's role in your perspective? I'll start with Dr. Henock, if that's okay, and if we can just up the volume so people in the back can hear as well.
So, ኣብ ትግራይ ያው ብዙሕ ነገር ይዓኒ ዘሎ ስለዚ ከመይ ጌርና ኢና ናብ ሪኮንስትራክሽን ኣቱ ዝብል ምናልባት ዓንቶ ዶክተር ገብረኺዳን ተቂስዎ ኸውን ይኽእል እዩ ሕጂ ናይ ፖስት ዋር ሪኮንስትራክሽን ናይ ትግራይ ኢን ተርምስ ኦፍ እቲ ዝበፅሐ ዳመጅ ኣብ ቤት ትምህርቲ ድዩ ኣብ ጥዕና ትካል ድዩ ኣብ ፋብሪካታት ድዩ ኣብ ናይ ኣግሪካልቸራል ክስታይ ድዩ ተጸኒዑ ተወዲ እዩ ስለዚ ንሱ ምስ ኣውፅእዎ እቲ ዳያስፖራ ብብኽእለቱን ናይ ስኪል ድዩ ኖውሌጅ ድዩ ፋይናንስ ድዩ ይኽሕግዝ ዘለዎ ማለት እዩ أنا حجب تعامل بلا زحزان تأتى أنا يتمرتيا مخنياتهم تمرتن دحر زي بيلنا بتسجمين خناتهم تناي تمرت تسجم زلنا حجين تأيو ناي نمساليو 4 عامات أبتقراي تمرتين بران قول عزنا ورودك 3 عامات بيت تمرت خاتون يروم وتم قدام يكفل زنا ورخ عنا بكال أي حالفون سلازي ودع 10 عامات ودع 7 عامات أنا محد خبل خطأتهم كلهاس كم يتجوب رأيه أتوم هاي سكول كع خود زنورون 4 عامات يودون سلازي زفرست جراجويت سناب كولج نأتوهم دك 23 دك 24 عامات يوم مالتيو سلازي يونيفرسيتي مساعته مستم دك 10 8 عامات كاب كاد خل لازم وصص كما يم كومباتيبل زخونو زبل أزي كل إننا نحسب زلنا مالتيو تناي تمرتي سلازي تناي مجمريا جن تنقلعو نبيت تمرتي خن ملصم على whatever it takes حجي نفتنا كده حجي خن من لسلنا كاب داسنا بكلاس زول مالتيو we have to make shift schools مالتيو مخنياتهم تنقلعو تمرت خجمر اللوم أنا تو diaspora خجورة زخيل جن إتون كمبيوترات كن جبرن خيلنا تو برينترات كن جبرن خيلنا ናይ ፔንሲል ካምፔን ክንገብር ንኽእል ኢና ናይ ባክ ካምፔን ክንገብር ንኽእል ኢና እዚ ሰኒሕና ሰርሒና ናብኡ ክነመሓላልፎ ንኽእልና ማለት እዩ ስለዚ somebody has to take the initiative ዋላ ኣብዚ ደቀና ክኾኑ ይኽእሉ ኣብዚ ተወሊዶም ክዓብዩ ይኽእሉ እዚ ኢኒሽቲቭ እዚ ክንወስድ ኣለና ማለት እዩ thank you
Thank you, Dr. Henock. We'll go to Dr. Gebrekidan from GSTS to answer the same question.
እሺ እንታይ ዓይነት መስርሕ ኣሎ እቲ ዲያስፖራ እቲ ናይ ዳግማይ ሕውየትን ህንፀትን ክሕግዝ ታዩ ካበርክቱ ንዝብል እቲ መስርሕ ኣብ ትግራይ ሓደ ንኩሉ ዘጠቃለለ ኤጀንሲ ናይ ፖስት ወር ሪኮንስትራክሽን እና ዲቨሎፕመንት ዝከታተል ዘትግብር ኤጀንሲ ክፍጠር ኢልና ንሓስብ ስለዚ ኣብዚ ኤጀንሲ እዚ ናይ ዲያስፖራ አብርክቶ ብጣዕሚ ዓብይ ስለ ዝኾነ እዚ ኤጀንሲ እዚ ናይ ባዕሉ ንዲያስፖራ ዝጥምት መስርሕ ክህልዎ ኤክስፔክት ንገብር ማለት እዩ እንታይ ካብርክት እዩ ዝብል ብጣዕሚ ብርክት ዝበሉ አብርክቶታት ክገብር ይኽእል እዩ ሓደ ናይ ኢኮኖሚክ እዩ ኩላትና ቅድሚ ሕዚ ከም ንፈልጦ ግን ኣብዚ ሕዚ እዋን ካብ ሪሚታንስ ወይ ድማ ገንዘብ ካብ መልኣኽ ንላዕሊ ከም ናይ ንግዲ ፕሮሞት ምግባር ናይ ፎሬን ዳይሬክት ኢንቨስትመንት ናይ ጆይንት ቨንቸር ናይ ዲያስፖራ ቦንድ ዝመሳሰሉ ንእሽተይ ኦርጋናይዝ ዝኾኑ ብደንቢ ዝተሓሰየ ኢኮኖሚ እውን ካለዓዕሉ ክሕዊ ዝኽእሉ ስራሕቲ ክሰርሕ ይኽእል እዩ ዝብል እምነት ኣለኒ ካብኡ እቲ ናይ ቴክኖሎጂ ናይ ኖውሌጅ ትራንስፈር ናይ ካፓሲቲ ቢልዲንግ ተተሓዘ እቲ ዲያስፖራ ብዓብዩ ክሰርሐሉ ዝኽእል ሓደ ዘፈር እዩ ንዚ ተተሓሒዙ ናይ ቱሪዝም ትግራይና ከዚ ብኩናት እያ ትፍለጥ ሓደ ቅልጢፍ ክሕውያ ዝኽእል ናይ ቱሪዝም ፍሰት ስለ ዝኾነ ኣብዚ እውን ናይ ብራንዲንግ ናይ ኢሜጅ ቢልዲንግ ዲያስፖራ ዓብይ ስራሕ ክሰርሕ ይኽእል እዩ ዝብል እምነት ኣለኒ ካብኡ ምስ ናይ ፓርትነርሽፕ ተተሓሒዙ ብፍላይ ናይ ትዊኒንግ ናይ ሲስተርሽፕ ንብሎ ሓደ ከተማ ኣብ ዘለናሎ ዓዲ ምስ ኣብ ትግራይ ዘሎ ሓደ ከተማ ሓደ ሆስፒታል ምስ ኣብ ትግራይ ዘሎ ሆስፒታል ሓደ ትምህርቲ ቤት ምስ ኣብ ትምህርቲ ቤት ናይ ምትሕሓዝ ስራሕቲ እውን ድሕር ሰሪሕና ኩለን ኣብ ትግራይ ዘለዋ ከተማታት ኣብ ትግራይ ዘለዋ ትምህርቲ ቤታት ኣቋራኔኑ ወይ ከዓ ፓርትነርሽፕ ክንደለለ ንኽና እዚ እውን ብጣዕሚ ዓብይ እዩ ዘን ምስ ናይ ጀስቲስ ኤንድ ኣካውንታብሊቲ ኣብ ፖስት ወር ሪኮንስትራክሽን እውን ህዝቢ ትግራይ ክከሓዝ ክኽእል እኒአዎ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ዝበደሉ ፍርዲ ክረክቡ ክኽእል እኒአዎም ስለዚ እቲ ናይ ጀስቲስ ኤንድ ኣካውንታብሊቲ እውን እቲ ዲያስፖራ ከም ሓደ ዓብይ ዕማም ገይሩ ክወስድ ኣለዎ ካብኡ ናይ ፊላንትሮፒ እዩ ናይ ስኪል ናይ ኖውሌጅ ናይ ታለንትካ ኣበርክቶ እውን ብዓብዩ ዝትገብረሉ እዩ ክኸውን ማለት እዩ ኣብዚኦም ኣብዚኦም ብዓብዩ ከበርክት ይኽእል ኢለ ይሓስብ
Okay, so that was Dr. Gebrekidan from GSTS, and we'll go to Dr. Kidane from TDA.
The pathways for diasporas to help and to engage in reconstruction in Tigray has been already started for the last 3.5 years. Diaspora has played a vital role from locust infestation in Tigray to COVID, to IDP, displaced people in Tigray and outside of Tigray, refugee from Sudan, Djibouti, that has repatriated from Saudis, students that were stranded abroad and in southern Oromia region. TDA has been doing all this in collaboration with the GSTS and TDA Sudan and concerned volunteer, female volunteers that went to Sudan to help in the refugee camp. So we accomplished a lot through this hard time and the role of TDA and the role of helping our people has been demonstrated with all our effort. From now on, I think the role of the diaspora is really, number one, to be organized in a way that our contribution is making a difference, not just donating, not only giving, but also questioning people in power, people in position, leadership, civil society. We want to make sure that our money is spent where we want it to be spent, not just giving it, but also following that's actually reach the people that need the most. So first thing is that diaspora has to question every organization, every leadership, every civic society that are they involved. If we don't question, then we're doing it business as usual, that we are actually not helping but hurting because we want to make sure that our money is spent where we want it to spend. So get involved in every organization, any Tigrayan organization. It doesn't have to be TDA. It could be any organization. The better way to do it is if we are collectively reading and working together, though that our resources can be make a bigger impact instead of doing it individually. So there's a lot of pathways that diaspora can get involved, but mainly that's not do it. Just sending money is not the solution. I think we can do reconstruction from school, healthcare, and also human growth, development, training. All the young people that we have back from war, we have to have skill training project that we can have. So if we can read, if we can get organized, united in our goals to help Tigray, will not going to take us 17 years, but also in less than the 2-3 years that's been projected.
Okay. Thanks for answering that question. We'll move on to our next question. And I will ask this question to you, Dr. Tsehaye. But I mean, we've kind of heard a bit about it from Dr. Henock as well, because he explained about what the virtual back-to-school program on HBS is. So that kind of gives you an inkling of how technology can also facilitate this. So how can we use technology to facilitate connections and bridging gaps? So Dr. Tsehaye, you could take that question.
Thank you, Melat. I think that's a very important question. So again, I'll try to draw examples of how, at our organization TDRF, how we use technology to help us. So we use both, because we are a virtual organization, so we use technology that's donated by corporates. How many of you know Microsoft Teams? So within our organization, we use a lot of that for our meetings. Not only that, we're also, as most of you know, using WhatsApp and other things to communicate with our people back home. That has helped us a lot to facilitate our work. We recently appointed a country director, so we're constantly in Tigray. His name is Daniel Takao. So he's our project manager, and we need communication. Nowadays, I don't know how many of you buy phone cards. Probably nobody knows what that is anymore, right? Yeah, so I know you have the social apps that we use for communication. In fact, today we have an onboarding process for our new board members. 3 of them happen to be from Tigray, so we use Teams. I know there are some challenges with connection in Tigray, but we utilize technology. You have to, you're not going to be a dinosaur organization if you don't learn how to use all these tools that are out there, whether social media or other softwares that are being used to do team-based projects. So definitely, I think, in a personal level, at institution level, I think we have to use technology to ease the communication barriers in Tigray. Hopefully down the road, the connection will be a lot better. But, I think that's one way to use how to facilitate communications. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tsehaye. And I think, we all know about how we use Twitter, especially in the beginning of 2020, how useful that was as a platform for us, and that in itself is technology. We advocated a lot internationally because we could connect with Tagaru all across the world. And if you weren't able to navigate technology, how could you possibly advocate to that level that we did in 2020 without having technology at the tip of at your fingertips? So these are the things. Sometimes I think we have a lot of resources at hand. It's just how do we exploit this and how do we use those resources that I think we need to sometimes ask ourselves internally. So my question to Dr. Gebrekidan, who will answer virtually, is the Building Bridges projects are most certainly long-term agendas. How do we create a long-standing commitment to monitor the process of the bridges we are building and establish ways to modify this as we go along?
long-term engagement, long-standing commitment, maintain نقبر زبل حدا كون اللي ولا حاسو system ويدو متكلاونت build مقباريو أول كسبات أو جل زي خونس تكالن دحرة هانيسنا حدا سبعته وصل تو system بعدو تو تكال بعدو maintain غيرو سلزوسلو long term كنقو عستخوينا sustainability كندو تخوينو توم نفطرم إنشاتيبات بإنستيتيوشن درجة بتكالون درجة زتحانوتو كخونو لوم زبل أمنتنين تو خلاي توم كوميتمنتات ويدمو توم أجنداتات ببروغرام ملكو استقرارات تزخون بدن بتحسيو لهم جزيا سويلكا استاجر كالت فطرم ده يخونا بدن بتحسيو لهم تخيدهم نعملت نايل إسرائيل تاجليت البحال ناي 1000 talents زبحال نايل تشاينا ترينا نايل ኣይተሮሮ ዝበሃል ናይ ሩዋንዳ ፕሮግራማት ተሪእና ናይ ሆም ካሚንግ ናይ ስኮትላንድ እዚኦም ኣብ ዲያስፖራ ዘሎ ህዝቦም ምስ መንግስቲ እውን ኮይኖም ብደንቢ ዌል ክራፍትድ ኮይኖም ዝኸዱ ሰስተነብል ዝኾኑ ፕሮግራማት እዮም ካልኦት ብዙሓት ፕሮግራማት እውን ኣለውና ብከምዚ ጌርካ ክቅረፅ ኣለዎም ዝብል እምነት እኒአኒ maybe እቲ መበል ሳልሳይ ክብሎ ዝደሊ ኢንሰንቲቫይዝድ ምግባር ኩሉ ግዜ ብቮለንተሪ ዝስራሕ ነገር ነዊሕ ክጓዓዘ ይኽእል እዩ ስለዚ ኢንሰንቲቫይዝድ ዝኾኑ ፕሮጀክትታት ክኾኑ ወይ ደሞ ኮሚትመንታት ክኾኑ ምግባር maybe ከም ረብዓይ ክገልፆ እንድሕር ኮይኖም ምስቱ ሰዓት ይውዳእ ስለ ዘሎ ክሊር ዝኾነ ናይ ሞኒተሪንግ እና ናይ ኢቫሉዌሽን ሜካኒዝማት እውን ታታእታቱ ተኮይንካ ነቲ ስርዓቱ ነቲ ሲስተሙ ነቲ ትካላውነቱ እውን ስለ ዘግልውቶ ኣብዚ ሎንግ ተርም ናይ ምኻድ ወይ ደሞ ሎንግ ተርም ኮሚትመንት ናይ ምዕሳል ዓብዪ ኣስተዋፅኦ ኣለዎ ኢለ ይሓስብ ስለዚ እዚኦም ገሊኦም ክጥቀሱ ዝኽእሉ እዮም ሎንግ ተርም ዝኾነ ኮሚትመንት ወይ ደሞ ሰስተነብል ዝኾነ ኢንጌጅመንት ንክፍጠር ኢለ ይሓስብ
Great. So we will kind of speak about the role of TDA in this as well, because I think that's a very important topic. So we had posed this question to Dr. Kidane about how TDA has managed to maintain a good base in the diaspora. TDA has been around for a very long time, and they've been doing great work. They have a lot of the projects that they've taken on even before I was around has, it's been very fruitful. There's many schools in Tigray that can attest to the testimony of TDA. So how do they maintain this base in the diaspora throughout the years? And how do they navigate bureaucracy and obstacles back home? And what checks and balances exist in the institution to make sure that there is impartiality from political influence? So that was a question we posed to Dr. Kidane, and we will play his response.
Yeah, I guess it is very important to know that in the past, I know that none of any organization that manages and develops this kind of task or this kind of project, it doesn't mean it's perfect. But I know for sure a lot of people in the past have second thoughts about TDA because it was considered to be affiliated with a political group or government, and leadership was appointed by the previous governments, and whether they were qualified or not. You hear all this from previous members and previous engagement with other groups. Well, I know for sure that even if there was any complexity and bureaucratic obstacles, the work that was done in the past is definitely is not something to minimize. A lot of work was done in the past, regardless of the bureaucracy, regardless of the complexity with political appointees or not. What we know for sure is that TDA in the past have done its role, it plays its role, but this TDA that we're talking about is definitely none of our board members are elected or appointed, whether it's here or back home. At least I can speak of from my own experience. To be elected member or a TDA member is $120 a year membership. You can be elected, get involved, question, audit the organization. So it's a free member. It's a membership required organization. So that means any of us can be TDA members and vote and get voted to run the organization. So for now, we are asking, again, as a new board in this less than a year, we are questioning the international TDA to make sure that they have transparency, they share their information with us. That will take time because it's very hard to do it from here. But in our existence here in the short time, we are going to present our audit in the next week or two, definitely before July. We are definitely public nonprofit agency, so everything that you see is on our website. Our taxes are public, so there's nothing that hide from our diaspora community, and we definitely need to be transparent, and we don't mind when people questioning us, but not just blackmailing and smearing and bad names, but we are transparent, and hopefully that all of you can be TDA members so you can run and you can manage, you can help. That's really is my message to everyone.
Okay, great. So we have a call to action video from Dr. Kidane, and we also have a video from HBS and TDRF that we have prepared for you to just kind of explain some of the projects that they're undertaking, and also a call to action. So things that you guys can get involved in supporting them as organizations and the different projects that they're taking on. So we'll play that now.
In conclusion, I would like to thank you, Wa'ala organizers and the committee. I have one last request or message for everybody. TDA is now running an emergency fundraising back to school to be able to send children back to school. And if anybody willing to help, please look at our website, tdana.org. So that we have children that are more than 65,000 orphan children and more than 2.1 million students that need to go back to school. With that information, I would like to thank you, everybody. Please get involved. And TDA is our umbrella for all our organizations, and also we all have to get involved to make it a better organization. Thank you again, and hopefully I will be there in person next year.
Just to kind of give you guys to give some closing remarks, and we'll just limit that. I know time is a bit constrained and we have rushed you, so I do apologize. But if we could limit the closing remarks to a minute and just highlight some of the main things you want people here to take away about your organization and the projects that you want people here and people that are watching elsewhere to take part in or to support. I'll start with Dr. Henock.
Thank you again for Wa'ala and the organizers for giving us the opportunity to talk about our organization. أنا حاجة HBS كل عينة بلاتفورم يزلوا حدا ناي تمرتي سلازي شو منت ساعات خورينا نمحلف زلنا every day Monday to Friday 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. سلازي أبزي خد حجزنا تخلو educators ناي IT سبات ولا بفاينانس ندل إن حجز ادخال أي platform ناي استفعله media تاتيو. Now we have like 7 medias content produce go رومالتيو UMD media Axumawian وزير لو تريوم زلهم Tigray press TPM ريوت ميديا حخفن يابله زم كلهم ميديا زيهم بنا HBS يمزت حلاله زلوا مالتيو سلازي اتوزلنا resource limited سلاز خونه تمرتونا محلالفنا نو content provider سون جزين دهمنا إن أنصر حزلنا مالتيو سلازي أبزي خط حجزنا ندلي مالتيو كلاي ات content produce كوين زمات زلوا كابكان أكاديمي من الوقت قد خوينات أب عالم حدث خونا نجار نيرو مالتي كوفيد ناي virtual education بمليونات دولارات كسب بليونز خون investi تغيرو مالتي virtual education so there are available resources مالتي ناي تقرنيا content produce كتجورو تخلو كتم حلالفو مالتي بتقرنيا مبزحتو تنم حلالفو زلنا بإنجليزية أيو ناي تقرنيا produce غيركم content تم حلالفو تليهم يا كنتات غورنا مالتي نا يغني الله.
Thank you, Dr. Henock. And we'll go to you, Dr. Tsehaye, next.
Okay. يغني الله. Wa'ala organizers, you guys have done a splendid job. So kudos to you guys for giving our community the platform for us to come and showcase our work. So if you haven't had a chance, we have a booth to get disaster relief all the way in the back. So we've been in existence for 4.5 years, and we almost have raised $1 million in 4.5. So hopefully by the time we turn 5, we would hit that. So what that shows you is not to brag or anything, is that we are earning the trust of our community. We are finding ways to be creative to engage the young, the youth. And also, it's not just about collecting funds, but we also been channeling that fund into grant making, into organizations, sister organizations. Earlier, I think someone from Colorado was saying that if Hausian would support an umbrella for the nonprofit. What I wanted to let you know is that we collaborate. TDRF puts a call for funding. We're funding their project. We're funding HPN, Sudan, Habtu Tigray. So we work together. I think it's very important. So come check us out. Currently, we are working with partners, 11 partners in Tigray, including some government entities to support. It's called Path Tigray, Partnership to Agreement for Tigray, or our campaign is Healing for Hope. Midhan Assefa. We are trying to support our brothers and sisters who are injured during the war. So we raised about 100,000. That's not enough. That's a drop in the ocean. But we wanted to do meaningful work, not just give cash handout because they will spend it. But there's a lot of problem in Tigray, and we wanted to at least those that need care, medical care, we're trying to partner them up, or people that need psychological counseling, trying to pair up. So at least we're making a dent in somebody's life. We're also running a monthly donors program, so we actually have cool. We purchased the Axumawian flash drive from an entrepreneur in Tigray. Yes, they were made in China, but so this shows you why it's important to support entrepreneurs. That's the way we can change Tigray, not through handout, is by creating opportunity for the youngsters. Social entrepreneurship is going to be very important. I will give you guys an example of someone I met before. You guys remember when before Ambetta was kind of big issue, and we were still using tools, old, outdated, to harvest. So we were like, why is this? We're in the 21st century and we're still using 3,000 years old technology. So what we need to do is look for local inventors, local solutions. Ma'arig is we found somebody who can design. He designed, he actually, most of you know what GABA is, right? He turned that into a powder, and he was able to make cookies. We commissioned him to create a harvester using like a bike. He's making a windmill. So we have talented people, but they need support. And I think the diaspora can play through different, it doesn't have to be through only TDRF. You use your own channel just to make sure that whatever solution we, of course, right now, our people are in need of food, humanitarian aid, but we'll also have to think about sustainable solution. And the way to do is not for us to impose how things should be, is for us to listen to our people, what they need, support them in the way they want to support. So,
Thank you, Dr. Tsehaye. So from some of the pointers that they've made, I will kind of try to mention some. HBS has said they need educators, financial support, media support, they need tech people, people in the background, people at the front, they need people everywhere. So this is manpower and financial support as well that they require. TDRF, they need partnerships with non-profits, they are an umbrella kind of organization, they are taking monthly donations for you to actually commit yourself to donating monthly, pledging yourself, your effort, your time. They require that. Two things I've noticed about these two organizations sitting here, and actually GSTS and TDA, is that they're umbrella organizations. I mean, I don't think I have to mention how important it is to support umbrella organizations, because under HBS, the media that I am actually here representing today, Axumawian Network, Media Network, is only here because HBS was able to host us. And this is the kind of great work umbrella organizations do. They empower smaller grassroots kind of institutions, organizations, media networks. So it's very important to support both Dr. Henock's institution and Dr. Tsehaye's institution, as well as GSTS and TDA. So without further ado, if you guys have any of the, I'm sure you have burning questions that you've written in your napkins, like I mentioned earlier. So please do come up if you do have any questions. It seems like no one's rushing to get up, but it's okay, feel free. It's no judgment zone. Whatever questions you have, please come up, ask them. You have two great minds here. You don't want to waste that. Okay, I think we're done with the questions. Hopefully that means I've done a great job and I've asked all the questions that you guys had. So we'll move on to the two videos that I mentioned earlier, the HBS and TDRF video, just to round up our discussion here.
سلام دوناس قرمي بحال نشر شي كفل تمهارتي درجة خفلي كالاي روعية درجة كفلي شاشاية
زلخو درجة شعي كفلي
قرص ولا تمرتي شوعي
حساب إنجليش ساينس تمهير HPS ماتس إنجليش تمهير
طعم دسالي تمرتي وسيدايا
ያው ደቀም ኩሎም ህፃናት ትግራይ ተዓጽዮም እዮም ነይሮም ኣብ ዕፃን ክባል ዝነበረ ህዝቢ እዩ
ናቀየረ ኩሉ ነገር ናጠፈኦም ከይዱ ነይሩ
ኣብ ዕፅዋይ ክባል ያው ከም ህዝቢ ትግራይ ከም ቆልዑ ብጣዕሚ ስለ ዝተበደሉ ፈቐዲኡ እዮም መሕሊፎም
እዞም ዝረአናዮም ፀገማት ኣብ ግምት ብምእታው HBS ካብ መስከረም 2015 ዓመተ ምህረት ጀሚሩ ፈኖ ትምህርቲ ብቴሌቪዥን ከሳልጥ ፀኒሕሎም ብዲያስፖራ ተጋሩ ዝተመስረተ HBS ተስፋ ትግራይ ዝኾኑ ህፃናት ኣብ ምህናፅ ዘበርክቶ ዘሎ ወሳናይ ዕማም ቀጻልነት ንኽህልዎ ናይ ኩሉ ትግራዋይን ፈታዊ ትግራይን ሓገዝን ተሳትፎን የድልዮም
HBS ንህፃናት ትግራይ
HBS ንህፃናት ትግራይ
HBS
ንህፃናት ትግራይ
Okay, so I would like to ask you guys to actually give a massive round of applause to my panelists here and my panelists who couldn't make it, but were very, they were with us in spirit. No, I expect a bigger round of applause than that, I'm afraid. A bigger round of applause. So thank you for staying with us today. Thank you for staying throughout the duration of our panel discussion, and hopefully we will keep the conversation going. Thank you, guys.